All right, everybody, welcome back. I am so excited for today's deep dive
Yeah, me too.
because we're going to be looking at something a little different.
Definitely a little different.
So we're not going to be looking at like an essay or a book or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Right.
Instead, we're going to be taking all of our deep diving skills
Uh-huh.
and applying them to a song
Cool.
called Code and Crown.
Nice.
And this song is all about a coder
Okay.
who is kind of like chasing this big dream.
Uh-huh.
And as the dream starts to come true,
Yeah.
starts to get really successful, things start to get a little complicated.
Sure.
So Code and Crown is going to walk us through that story.
I'm excited.
And I think right away in the first verse,
Okay.
the first couple of lines,
Yeah.
like the very first lines, really set the scene really well.
Absolutely.
Late nights, a screen that never sleeps, chasing dreams that run so deep.
I mean,
That's light.
that resonate with anybody out there?
Yeah.
I know I've definitely
Yeah, for sure.
pulled some late nights
Absolutely.
staring at a screen.
Definitely.
But it's like, at what point,
Man.
does that drive become too much?
Yeah. At what point does it become unhealthy, maybe?
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, is there a point where it's like,
Right.
you got to step back
Yeah, you got to take a break.
and like live a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. You can't just code all the time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, go outside, touch some grass.
Exactly.
But like, I really like how right away
Yeah.
they bring up that idea of like sparks igniting,
Right.
building a world.
Yeah. And it's a really powerful image.
It is, and it's like so tempting,
Yeah.
to just like get lost in that.
Right. To just like build and build and build
Yeah.
and not really think about like the consequences.
Yeah, and so it's almost like, it's that initial spark of
Yeah.
creation.
Right at the very beginning.
But then it's like
Yeah.
right away too, they're already bringing up this idea of like, yeah,
Promise broken?
yeah, like, is there a broken promise somewhere?
Right. So it's almost like right away
Right.
they're foreshadowing some of the downsides of
Exactly.
ambition.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like right from the beginning, you get this sense that there's going to be a conflict, right? This pursuit of success,
Yeah.
of going from like code to crown.
Yeah.
Like, that's the goal,
Okay.
right? But it seems like it's going to come at a cost.
Totally.
Like friendships bend.
Yeah. Like, you
Yeah.
think about all the stories you hear
Yeah.
of like,
Mm-hmm.
People who start these big companies
Right.
and they get really successful.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
their personal life falls apart.
Right. Or they have to like sacrifice something.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you willing to
Yeah.
make those trade-offs?
That's the question.
Right. And then I think it gets really interesting in like the pre-chorus
Okay.
because the song is very clear that this isn't about
Right.
the typical motivator, like money and fame. It's
Yeah.
not about the money, not about the fame. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what is it about then?
Right. What is driving this person?
What is it that's pushing him forward?
Yeah. And I think it suggests that there's something deeper going on. Right. Some kind of intrinsic motivation,
Yeah.
like maybe a need to create
Yeah.
or a desire to like make a mark on the world.
Right. Have you ever felt that way?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like where you're working on a project or something
Absolutely.
and it's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the recognition.
No, it's just about like that feeling you get
Huh.
when you create something.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, are you willing to lose yourself in that?
Right. Well, and the song talks about being lost in a maze,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's a great metaphor for like
Yeah.
being so consumed by something that you lose sight of everything else.
Right. Like you're just so focused on
Yeah.
what you're working on that
Yeah, you can't see the forest for the trees.
totally.
Yeah.
And then we get to the chorus
Okay.
and it really brings those metaphors front and center.
Yeah. What are those metaphors again?
So it's like code to crown
Right.
and dream to war.
Uh-huh.
So it's like,
And so what do you think those mean?
I think it's really showing like how the story is changing.
Okay.
Like in the beginning, it's all about this pure creative spark,
Uh-huh.
but now it's becoming this like
Yeah.
ruthless,
Yeah.
competitive,
Yeah, battle.
battle for success.
Right.
And it's like, building empires, losing friends.
Right.
Like that's what it takes.
It's like a trade-off.
Right.
Yeah.
You get to the top, but at what cost?
Right. And that's the question, right? Fame and fortune at what cost?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, is it worth it?
It's a heavy question.
It is.
Yeah.
And then it's like the second verse
Yeah.
really starts to show us what some of those costs might be.
Okay, so what happens in the second verse?
So he's like surrounded by this amazing creation, algorithms humming, data singing.
Right, so like everything is working.
Everything's perfect.
The code is perfect.
But then
Yeah.
it says an empty ring
Oh.
inside his chest.
So even though everything is like technically perfect,
Uh-huh.
there's something missing.
Yeah, it's like he's achieved all this success,
Yeah.
but he's lost something along the way.
Right. And I think it's interesting the way they use those sensory details.
Yes.
Right? Like the humming and the singing to contrast with that like emotional emptiness.
Right. So it's like everything seems fine on the outside.
Exactly. It's like a facade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But inside there's this like void.
Right. And then there's that line, chasing the moon, you lose the dawn.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
I think it's like when you're so focused on this like big goal, this huge ambition,
Right.
you forget to appreciate
Right.
the little
The
things.
simple things.
Yeah, the simple things in life.
Yeah, like the beauty of a sunrise.
Right. And like I think in tech,
Yeah.
we see this all the time.
All the time.
Like people are so focused
Yeah.
on the next
Yeah. Or
milestone.
next, whatever.
Right.
That they forget to just like
Yeah. To live their life.
and like
Yeah.
connect with people.
Right. Make those human connections.
Yeah. And I think that ties back to that
Yeah.
feeling of being lost in a maze.
Right.
Like it's not just about the ambition anymore.
It's like he's trapped.
Yeah, he's isolated.
Yeah.
He's built up these walls around himself.
Right. And then we get to the bridge.
Yeah.
And there's a real shift in tone.
Totally. It's like way more introspective.
Yeah. And there's a hint of regret.
Yeah, like that line of memories of what used to be.
Right. Like he's looking back
Yeah.
on what he's lost.
And then it says, a friendship torn by greed and speed.
Ooh, that's rough.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's like he's finally admitting. Yeah.
That his pursuit of success
Yeah.
has cost him something.
Right. He's had to sacrifice some things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the imagery there with the firewalls and keys,
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
It is. And I think it's like,
Like, what do you think that represents?
I think it's those barriers that he's built
Uh-huh.
between himself
Yeah.
and the people he used to care about.
Right. Like he's locked himself away
Yeah.
in his own little world.
And it's like, what are the firewalls in our own life?
That's a great question.
Like, what are we so afraid of
Yeah.
that we're willing to
To push people away.
push people away and like lock ourselves away?
Yeah, to protect ourselves.
Right. And so then we get back to the chorus.
That haunting chorus.
It is haunting.
Yeah.
And I think it's really emphasizing that like,
Yeah.
this isn't just a straight line.
Yeah.
Like, start here, end here.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
And like, he's achieved the crown.
Right. He's reached the top.
He's all alone, a king with no throne.
Wow. So even though he's achieved everything he set out to do, he's still not happy.
Right. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah. What was it all for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like that success without connection,
Yeah.
without purpose,
Yeah.
it can be meaningless.
It's a hollow victory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the song is really trying to say that this isn't just about this one coder.
Right.
It's about all of us.
It's like a reflection of
Yeah.
the choices we make.
The temptations we face.
Yeah. And it's like, are we willing to sacrifice everything
Right.
for success?
Is it worth it?
Right. And like, what does success even mean?
Yeah. What does it mean to you?
Right.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Code and Crown
Yeah.
is just such a powerful song,
It is.
especially
Actually.
in our tech-driven world.
For sure.
So thank you all for joining us
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
for this deep dive.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed it.
I hope it's made you think a little bit
Yeah. Definitely.
about your own ambitions,
Your own firewalls.
the things that are important to you.
The things you value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks again for listening.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.